Hey, I just wanted to hop on and share a story you're going to want to hear. There's a young lady, 13 years old, a little orphan girl in a little village outside of Arusha, Tanzania. And this little girl is HIV positive, and she's at a children's home called Matinyak. Now, before I tell you Neema's story, I got to tell you a little bit about Matinyak. The director there's name is Emmy. And Emmy was a nurse who cared for disabled children 20 years ago. And she saw a need because she saw that when she sent them home, they weren't properly taken care of. And so she asked if she could take the kids. So her and her husband stepped away from their lives and took these children to their home. Now, they didn't have transportation there. They didn't have wheelchairs or stretchers or anything. So they actually had to put the children on their back and carry them down the streets to their home. And that was 20 years ago. Now they have over 50 children that are at the Matinyak Children's Home. They have over 100 that are being educated in the school that's on the premises. It's an amazing ministry. Emmy and her husband, Neema, are amazing people. You just would love them. I'll never forget one of the first conversations I had with Emmy. She had just been expressing to us how that, sometimes through regional droughts and problems that arise, that there wouldn't be enough food. And so we just asked the question, well, what do you do when you're running low on food? What's your alternative? And just matter-of-factly, she says, oh, we just put water on to boil. And that sounded kind of unusual to me, and so we kind of inquired a little bit further, and she said, yeah, we have the cooks to put on water to boil. And before the water boils, God shows up. Somebody always shows up with food enough to sustain us and to provide meals for the kids. Wow, what a person of faith. That is so much faith. I'll just tell you, that is way over my head when it comes to faith. So thankful to have met Emmy. Emmy's faith is amazing and her gifts are amazing. And Emmy heard about this little girl that was in her community in the little village that had been hidden away by her mother because her mother didn't want the community to know that the child was HIV positive. And so Emmy found the girl, asked the mother if she could come. The little girl's dad had died from AIDS. And so Emmy brought the girl to Matinyak Children's Home. And she began to thrive. Because she hadn't gotten the medicine, the HIV had grown into complications that was threatening her life. So by October of last year, her situation had become critical. She was desperately ill and needed medical attention. So they contacted my wife, Alice Sweet, who's the founder and director of Haven of Hope International, and they asked her, can you help us with funds to see for the medical needs of Neema? And so Alice responded, yeah, we'll get some funds together. We didn't have the funds, but Alice said, we'll forward the funds. Somehow we'll figure it out. And she sent the money on to take care of the needs of this little girl. So we were scrambling around and there was going to be a phone call. And Alice wanted someone from the medical profession to be on the call, and she had a friend who is an ER doctor, and she called him and said, hey, could you jump on this call? And he said, sure, I'll be glad to help. And there was another associate from up north who's a pediatrician that said he would get on the phone call. And the doctor in Fort Myers was walking to get on the Zoom call, and he saw a friend who was an infectious disease specialist for pediatrics and asked her if she would get on the phone call. So suddenly we had 3 doctors on the call, and they were talking to the doctors in Tanzania, and they began to consult about what would be the best avenues for this child. And they began to work, and she began to get a little bit better, but her kidneys had failed. This little girl was going to need dialysis. We scrambled here and got funds together and sent for her to receive the dialysis that she needed. Let's fast forward a couple of months. She's doing a little bit better, but you can't stay on this dialysis forever. And her condition began to deteriorate a little bit. And so the doctors here said, Alice, you're going to have to make some hard decisions about this. It's a difficult thing. This can't go on forever. So these were the things that we were facing around Easter, and we were praying about that. And one of the associates for Haven of Hope International is an RN. She's a traveling nurse, and she was stationed out in California. And she just put it out there on a community board that we're having this call talking about this young lady who's HIV positive, who needs a transplant, who's in Tanzania. So there's a doctor in California who happens to specialize in pediatric HIV transplants for children. It's an amazing thing. And this doctor was looking for someone in Africa, even in Tanzania, that he could show them that this was possible and could happen. This doctor gets his team and goes to Tanzania. He meets Neema. They sit around with the doctors there and they begin to formulate a plan. Because of her advanced condition, they would need to bring Neema to the United States to get the kidney transplant. So we're working on a plan now to see how that can happen. And I just think that's the kind of story we need to hear, that people from around the world come together over a 13-year-old orphan in a minute village in a rural area in Tanzania. What an amazing story. So thankful for the doctors in Tanzania who were willing to stretch their system to put a child on dialysis that had never happened before. It's been an amazing journey as we've watched this take place. And the journey's not over. And I just wanted to share with you because I believe there'll be people here that'll want to pray. There'll be people here that want to get involved. There'll be people here that want to step up and say, I want to know more about Matanyak. I want to know more about that story. I want to know more about Haven of Hope International. I want to know more about Neema. And you want to help in that. There'll be links below for you to do that. We just challenge you, why don't you just like and share this? Why don't you click on us and follow us? Won't you follow this story to see where Neema goes and how Neema can change the world?